Hello, good everybody. We welcome you inside Mia Margarita at Charles Point. It's Monday night. We're talking Bridgeport Indians football on the John Cole Show with you till the top of the hour, next 55 minutes, discussing Indians football. Tribe now 3-1 on the season, coming off a 34-15 loss to the number one team in Class AA, the Polar Bears of Fairmont Senior. Back on Thursday, it is back to a regular schedule this week for the Indians. Friday night trip to rival Robert C. Byrd to take on the Flying Eagles of RCB, and we'll discuss the matchup with RCB a little bit later on in the program. Look back on the 34-15 loss to the Polar Bears of Fairmont Senior. So we invite you to stay tuned. John Cole, of course, joins us here on the show. Good evening, Coach. How are you?
How you doing, Travis?
Good, good. How are you?
Well, I'm okay.
A little under the weather.
A little bit sick, but that's all right. We're going to keep plugging away.
Yep, players you got to play hurt.
Indeed.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Nice to get back on a regular schedule here. You got an extra day of rest, which ultra important considering that that game on Thursday night very physical, hard hitting as we anticipated.
Yeah, it was. It's good. We actually hit a little bit today. At least I did with the linemen. So. It's the only good thing about playing on Thursday. I mean, the schedule's a lot tougher these past couple years. We used to play those guys in week 8 or 9. Didn't I can't really remember that much playing on a Thursday, and you got to play them game 4 and on a Thursday. It's just it's tough. It doesn't help, not to make excuses or anything, but you've got a lot of work to cram in 3 days, and it's tough. So don't know if we'll be doing it that many more times, but it's not up to me totally, obviously, but I'd like to be done with that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. It's a balance. It's good for the program in terms of exposure. It got you on television. We're not college, so you're not recruiting, so there's not that aspect of it. But it's fun for the kids. Exciting for them.
I mean that ultimately is why Mr. D'Amato and Mr. Jones decided to go ahead and do it. So.
Yep. All right, well, let's talk about the game itself. Certainly couldn't have scripted a worse start.
No.
As you go 3 and out on your opening series. Punt the ball, have a great punt from Sam Armando, pin them back at the 10-yard line, and no surprise they come out and run their quarterback, Gage Michael, on the first play. But I guess what was surprising was that he took that quarterback run and was untouched 90 yards and scored a touchdown. Let's talk about the first play first. After you went back and watched the film, where was the breakdown? What happened? We defensed it well. I mean, we had them outnumbered. I mean, kids that didn't make a play. We had one kid came off a block late, and the other one wasn't blocked and didn't make a play, and the rest of them behind them were getting some traffic by their receivers. They did a good job, but that's a good team, and they're well coached. And we'll give them credit for that. But definitely on that play, we helped them out. And we helped them out a couple times during the ball game. And you can't do that. I mean, you just can't do that. So, that's the problem. I mean, but they're big and strong up front. And, we haven't seen anyone like that quarterback. And, I would venture to say that if they stay healthy, if he stays healthy, they're going to be undefeated and number 1, and someone's going to have to knock them off, and I don't know who's going to do it. But anyway, we just need to worry about us, and those kids had a lot to worry about, especially when they get out there on the edge. Defense is reading and reacting and getting off blocks and going to football. And that was a big problem. That was a big problem. So, we kept as many in the box as we could. We did everything we could to try and stop the run.
We took chances to get to the quarterback, and I think that was pretty apparent because they got behind us some. But, what do you do? I mean, if you can't play them straight up and you're not getting off blocks and you can't play them 5-on-5 in the box, then you got to do something else because they're going to hurt you. And, like I said, they're pretty well coached, and they got the matchups they wanted, and it was tough for us.
It's interesting. It's kind of this is the same conversation we had following that game a year ago.
Absolutely.
But just in a different way.
A little different.
Last year we talked about what a matchup problem this game is for us because of Connor Neal, and you just didn't have anybody that could replicate a kid in practice that was going to look off receivers and check down and go through the progression of the reads. Then you come in this year, and now you've got a kid that Gage Michael that may not be right now as good of a thrower or pure quarterback as a polished Connor Neal is, but he's certainly a better runner.
Right.
And he's a heck of an athlete.
Yes.
Again, you guys were putting the unenviable task of trying to emulate him in practice heading into that game, and it's going to be the same problem that every one of their opponents is going to face this year. You just don't have anybody that can run around like he does.
Well, and it's not only that; it's the guys up front too. I mean, on our scout team, I can tell you all week there weren't any yards gained on the ground. I mean, our defensive players didn't have any problem getting off our scout team guys. Coach Snyder was Gage Michael the whole week. I mean, he was the guy back there doing all that. He was the guy that could throw the ball. I mean, we had both our quarterbacks are playing defense. So Sean was back there and did a hell of a job. I mean, just threw the ball around. We thought we had a good week of defensive practice. The 3 days there, the Monday or the Tuesday and Wednesday that we had, and but you're right. I mean, you can't emulate that. It happens a lot quicker. They're going up against stronger, their first team players. I mean, it's tough, but at the same time, it's a little disheartening when you're in positions and you don't make the plays.
Yeah.
So, and that didn't happen all night, but it did happen a few times that would have helped.
Yeah. We posed a question last week that I know you were curious to get the answer to, and I'm kind of curious as to what the answer was, and that was you looked at our first three opponents this season thus far outside of Fairmont Senior. Our line was stronger than the first three. We've got a strong line, one of the strong, at least a couple of the kids, some of the strongest you've ever had since you've been on staff at Bridgeport. When you looked at their strength, it certainly was their line with Zach Frazier and Dom Owens and even Jason Howard, who played well.
And the other thing was that I don't know that many people know, their fullback that started 3 games, what's his name, that 15, Kowalski?
Yeah, Kowalski.
He went to the line like that.
Yeah.
So he was their starting left tackle and did a real good job. So I don't know many teams that can have a starting fullback for 3 weeks and put him in there at tackle and not miss a beat. And the kid's a senior. He has played linebacker for him for a couple years. And like I said, they had him at fullback, but their tailback got hurt. So they needed him. They had some issues with another lineman, so they moved him up, and he did a pretty good job. So,
yeah. But all in all, how did you? I know that you told us after the game you thought that was probably the best that the offensive line had blocked all year.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I don't know. I just think we're a little more aggressive on offense sometimes than we are in defense. But on defense, you have to read some. We're a read and react defense. We just don't pin our ears back and go. You really can't do that in our defense. So on offense, you can, especially if you know where you're going, you can pin your ears back and go. And I believe our kids did that, and I was really proud of them for it. I can guarantee you after that game, Fairmont knew they'd been hit, and we gained a little over 200 yards on the ground. Now I didn't produce enough points that we really wanted, but at times we moved the ball and moved it well, and I was really proud of our kids, and I'm proud of our kids anyway. I mean, they're our kids. I wouldn't trade them for anyone. They play hard. They try to do their best, and that's all we can ask, and that's all I'm going to ever ask them to do.
We'll talk about a couple of the kids individually. J.T. Muller, in particular, a kid that got more defensive snaps on Thursday night than he had so far this season, and responded, had 5 tackles, including a tackle for loss. We'll talk about that. Kicking game as well had a pretty good night, particularly Sam Romano punting the football, returning the ball.
Sure did.
We'll talk some special teams coming up. Lots more as we go ahead.
The guy we lost too, unfortunately.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that made a difference.
All right, we'll rehash all that coming up. Invite you to stay tuned. We've got more with John Cole. The John Cole Show continues. From me and Margarita Charles Point, we're here every Monday night from 7 until 8 o'clock talking Bridgeport Indians football. Don't forget to join us because you can get, if you're watching our live video stream, you can get the San Francisco via West Virginia Pizza for just $10. It is on special, dine-in only during the John Cole Show on Monday nights here at Mia Margarita at Charles Point. Check them out online at miamargarita.com. We'll be back. More Indians football talk straight ahead on the home of the Indians. Brian Henderson's touchdown there in the opening quarter, 9 seconds to go, cut the Polar Bear lead at that point to 13-6. But Fairmont would answer quickly on their next possession on a Gage Michael pass. But Bridgeport, as Coach Cole mentioned, did carry the ball 58 times for 209 yards in the contest, led by Brian Henderson, 77 yards. Trey Pancake, 16 carries, 66 yards. And J.D. Love, who continues to improve week after week, carrying the ball, 13 carries, 61 yards in the game for Bridgeport. And we saw John again, kind of what we expected. You had to go a little more under center and a little more stick high in this game. And that's not unusual for games when you've got either a strong defensive line or very active, quick linebackers, because stuff happens a little quicker. It
does, and it balances the defense out too. That's the other thing. And in Fairmont's case, they had some defensive linemen that matched up well with ours. So in our unbalanced, the whole idea of doing that is get a little advantage, and when you don't have that advantage, then you're better off going in double tight and, hitting it quick. And I think we did for the most part. Would have liked to have started it a little bit earlier, but, that didn't happen. And, another thing I wanted to mention, I told the kids after the Liberty game and the whole week of our game, this is game 4. Now, it may not be game 4 for our fans and the media and everyone else, but to me and to us and our team, that was game 4, and that was one game. And we got a lot more games to play, thank goodness. So, the only thing I told them was go out and play hard and be physical and try and have a good game. And obviously – it was a big game, but it's not do or die. I mean, we play RCB this week, for heaven's sakes. We're going to have another pretty darn good athlete coming right at us the whole game. North Marion after that, up there. They're going to be probably 4-1, 5-1, whatever, when we play them. And it just doesn't end. I mean, It's a tough schedule. It's week after week, and hopefully we don't have anyone hurt and stay healthy and are able to finish the season out. So there's no gimmies, and you move on.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the unbalanced line, and you tried some things. Nobody certainly could accuse the coaching staff of not trying something to see. You knew going into this game you just couldn't do the same thing against Fairmont Senior. And even beat them straight up. You were going to have to try, to outnumber them or, do some when they expected you to run, throw, and try some things. But you did unbalanced line, but for the first time in a long time, we saw some motion.
A little flip there.
Yeah, what was the thought process there, or what was the goal?
Well, again, that's something, hopefully we thought that they would base up against, hopefully. So, and change the defense a little bit to where we liked it. So, and we did a few other things that we didn't normally do, and that led to some success, and we'll keep doing it too.
All right, we mentioned the offensive line, and certainly you had a key injury in the course of that game. Peyton Henderson got bent back on his foot and had to come out, and unfortunately couldn't go back in. And first, just kind of talk about what that does in the middle of a game when you lose your center and the guy that's making your offensive line calls.
Sure, and it's it was tough. Thankfully, I think Peyton's going to be fine, so that's good. So we have a backup in there, and then Fairmont sees that and puts their best player over him, and he had a rough night, but sometimes Frazier guessed wrong, and that was good. We got most of the snaps. We bobbled a few of them, but we got most of the snaps, and it would have wanted it to work a little bit better, but we're actually a little thin on the line. We really are. I mean, we don't have many kids at this point that we feel confident in to, plug in there. So we're going to have to do a little more jockeying around and try maybe to get some of these kids some experience because, sooner or later something's going to happen again.
Yeah, Chris and I joked on the air Friday night that, this is why you have to practice hard during the week because even if you don't anticipate you're going to play, you're one snap away. And, poor Matt Poling, he probably anticipated, it's going to be a great game. I'm going to watch it from the sideline this Thursday night and, cheer on my teammates and do what I can from a morale standpoint. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Not only are you in the game, but now they've moved their All-American defensive tackle to nose up on top of you. So, congratulations. Now you're in the game and you're playing the best defensive lineman probably on the East Coast. And
we tried to help him at times, obviously. I mean, we for a whole series, we had to double up with him. And then we sort of got away from that a little bit, couldn't help him as much because, it just wasn't working out well. And, he did the best he could, and hopefully he learned from that a little bit. But like I said, I pretty much knew what to expect, and we got the ball most of the time, so that was good.
Did you have a chance to deliver your so long message to Zach Frazier?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Just said, great.
Yep.
Great seeing you.
Everything
Hope we don't see you again.
Very cordial, and he was smiling. I was smiling, and he's something else now. I'll tell you.
Well, I said, here's the good news. The good news is after Thursday, he's now plays for us. He's now on our side.
That's right.
Right? So
it'll be fun cheering for him.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Well, just like the other two.
Yep.
And that's the thing. We've been blessed at our school with good talent and good kids, and Fairmont's finding that out too. How many high school football teams have in a span of 4 years, 3 D1 defensive linemen? Other guys that go on to college too. I think 2 of the others are walk-ons at WVU, like ours were.
Yeah, they've got 2 on scholarship at Fairmont.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it's a luxury, and anytime anyone says anything about what's happened here in the recent past, I'm like, well, go ahead and enjoy it because it goes by quick. It goes by quick.
Yeah, certainly, and it's cyclical.
Yes, it is.
That's the. And I've said it once. I've said it 100 times. That's the amazing thing about this program, that the dips here aren't as low as they are other places, and that is reflective of the state championship records that this program currently holds, and consecutive playoff appearances and non-losing seasons. All right, to defense. Give me a thought here on a couple of guys. JT Muller in particular. He got. You tried some things with him, got him on the field on Thursday night, and how did you think he played?
He did well. He's going to play more. Made a great special teams play. Open field tackle, put a guy on his back. That's what we need. That's what we've been waiting for. And JT's a pretty good athlete. And because of, Elijah getting hurt and the types of teams we're going to see, JT's going to be playing on that defense really in different spots. And he's sort of a hybrid guy. We worked him out at defensive end for a couple weeks. And he's going to play some linebacker. He's going to play some defensive end. Gives you a little bit of flexibility for Coach King to play with that box a little bit if we get in trouble. So he's a good kid. He works hard. He wants to play. And he's going to get his opportunities.
Carson Winkie led the Indians in tackles with 7 on Thursday night. Also had a tackle for loss in that game. Devin Vandergriff with 5 stops, Trey Pancake with 4. And I thought another guy that played well, not only defensively but also blocking, was J.R. Coburn.
Yeah. J.R.'s picking it up at offensive guard. We need him to sort of pick it up on defense a little bit. And he's a guy we're going to move around too. So you're going to see some different things with our personnel on defense and guys that we think are athletes that can help us. So that's what we have to do. Every week's going to be a competition week, and it's sort of like last year. We've got to put our kids in the best position that we think they can be in to help us win football games.
Let's talk special teams here. First, Sam Romano had an outstanding catch. Can't forget that on the offensive side of things. But kind of feel like he's getting comfortable now returning kicks, and that's something that we've been very blessed to have some good kick returners here, in the last really decade. And the quicker he can get comfortable and that can become a weapon, the better. And it seems like that's starting to happen.
Yes, yeah. Sam's done really well for us, especially punting. And he wants a kickoff return. He wants a punt return. I mean, he's that kind of a kid, and he's done a good job. I mean, he's figuring it out. He's smart, as far as knowing he can't let the thing bounce. But him taking that punt down there and then lowering his shoulder in there, that's the first time I've seen that. So that's good, and you never know. You never know. He may end up as a tight end some for us. We may be able to do some things with him there. He's just got to be consistent and keep coming and go full speed, and he'll get better as he goes, because it was a big transition, not only from single A to double A, but the style and type of football is a huge difference, and practice is a huge difference. So it wasn't easy, and still is not easy.
Yeah, had over 100 yards of all-purpose on Thursday night, as we mentioned, and including 69 yards on punt and kickoff returns. Let me talk to you about kickoff a little bit. You're still trying some things, it seems. Austin Springer kicked off. Cam Rubenstein for 2 weeks in a row. He's kicked off a little bit. Sometimes you're kicking away. Most of the time, though, it's short.
Yeah.
The pooch kicks. Was that a Fairmont thing, or are you guys still not comfortable with the distance you're getting on the kickoffs consistently?
A little bit of both. A little bit of their personnel, but I'll tell you, Sean Snyder does the special teams, and he does an outstanding job with it. I mean, spends a lot of time with it. He's got signals and calls for those kickers. We can kick in, I think it's 4 or 5 different zones right on the fly. And it just depends on how the kickers are kicking. We haven't been happy with anything deep consistently, and then when it seems like it is a little consistent, we're not covering well. For instance, at Liberty. So, that sticks in our minds more than anything. And it's a vital part of the game. You don't want to get burned. But based on the other team's talent and what they're trying to do is the recipe there for where the ball's going. And thankfully, we have 2 kickers. They compete with each other. We do kickoff and kickoff return on Wednesday, and we sort of gauge things there to see who's going to do what.
Yeah, and you outside the Liberty game, where we failed on a late kickoff there and gave them a kickoff return for a touchdown. Even Thursday night, their longest return was 19 yards.
Yeah.
Punt return longest was 9 yards. So all in all, pretty good.
That's good. Yeah. Yep. Take that all the time.
Absolutely. All right, that's a wrap on the Fairmont Senior game. We'll turn our attention to the Flying Eagles of Robert C. Byrd and their outstanding running back Jeremiah King, the sophomore who's rushed for over 200 yards already twice this season. And we'll talk in detail about Josh Correll's ball club coming up after this timeout. Okay. Let you stay tuned. John Cole's show continues from Mia Margarita at Charles Point. Again, we're here every Monday night talking Bridgeport Indians football on the Indians Radio Network. You can join us in person here for the show, or, of course, watch it on Facebook Live. And, again, don't forget about our pizza special that we have during the show from 7 until 9. It is dine-in only, the West Virginia via San Francisco for just $10. Check out their complete menu at miamargarita.com. John Cole's show continues live from Mia's after this time out on the home of the Indians. Welcome back. John Cole Show continues from Mia Margarita at Charles Point. Bridgeport Indians trying to rebound after a 34-15 loss to Fairmont Senior. Gage Michael in that game, you heard his 90-yard touchdown run there, finished with 274 yards rushing in the game. And since we started keeping the stats back to 1997, that was tied for the second best rushing performance by a Bridgeport opponent. And he was tied with Javon Davidson from Robert C. Byrd, who had 274 in the first meeting between the two teams last year. And Davison, of course, has moved on, has graduated, and is no longer there. And Jeremiah King, who was kind of his change-up back last year, but had two very interesting and completely different games with him last year.
Yeah.
The first one at Bridgeport in the regular season, as I mentioned, the one where Davidson went berserk. We gave up big play after big play in the run game, and it was a shootout. Luckily, we had the ball next to last, and Byrd unable to score the tying touchdown on their last drive, but then the
Right.
playoffs completely different, shut down their run game. Let me talk to you about confidence from a defensive standpoint. You go back and look at kind of what had happened leading up to the Bird game last year.
Yeah.
Buchanan, their quarterback, gashes us. You play Fairmont Senior, and their pass game and run game combination. We didn't have any answers for that. So you went into the Bird game, I think, is it fair to say, less confident defensively last year than we are this year? Even though what happened on Thursday night, I still feel like our kids, feel like they're better defensively than what they showed.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some experience on the line. We've got some experience at linebacker. So, up until last Thursday, we felt pretty good. I mean, we gave up a few yards, obviously, against Morgantown. But, it's always a worry for us when a team spreads us out. When their lines are comparable to ours, because we know that they're going to put us in space, and you have to have athletes and you have to have help from the back end. I mean, it's sort of like, in a way, and this is sort of weird, but when teams put 9 men in the box against us and they look behind them, there's no one there. Now, we haven't burned them as much this year, but when we have athletes and had athletes in the past, if they make a mistake, there's no one back there. Well, when we're spread out and, one-on-one in the box, we can't – we have to deal with a strong line, and we can't get off blocks, and you don't get that help from the back end. There's a lot of space there for athletes to take off, and unfortunately, that's what's happened here a few times, and it's tough. Those guys in the on the back end have a lot to worry about. They really do, especially against a talented team, and if they don't get a quick read and react. And if the other team is sending their receivers at them, and then all of a sudden they're blocking them, I mean, it's not an easy thing to deal with. And we're not experienced everywhere. I mean, we have some experience. I think our run defense, up until last week we were fairly happy with. But with Smitty getting hurt, we had 2 first-year players back there on the back end, and they're worried about getting, when we're playing zone anyway, people getting behind them. So they're backing up. And it's tough to make plays in space. And without the athletes and the experience to do it, we're going to have to live with it, and not really live with it, but just try and get better. And I think we will.
So, that being said, how does that converse into this year's Robert C. Byrd game? You look at them; they're a young ball club. They only have 9 seniors on this team.
Yeah.
But they've got some good kids, and they've got a quarterback with experience. But how are they different from last year?
Some of those underclassmen have been playing though,
yeah.
And that's been the case for them. I mean, they've been starting some freshmen and. The quarterback, obviously, Lopez is a concern. I mean, he's a 3-year starter. He's a junior. And then, of course, King is really good. You have to really bottle him up on the line. If he gets going downhill, and we saw this last year, not only with him but with Davidson too, when they stretch you, that's one thing. But whenever they plant and square their shoulders, you better be there, or you better slow them down before that. Because if you don't, once they get a little momentum and square those shoulders up, then your one-on-one tackling is going to get tested. I think Robert C. Byrd had a really strong team last year. They really did. I remember vividly the guys on their right side were Arnold and Marino. They're not there now. But they do have a couple of linemen that have been playing 2 or 3 years. So and the Roby boy is a big, strong kid, and he's got a couple years experience under his belt. So you know, maybe they're not as strong as they were last year, but they're going to come right at us. They only have one loss to a really, really good Kaiser team that's probably going to come in and play us undefeated, and that's it. So you know, Jeremiah's putting up 400 yards in a couple games, 200 and some against Preston. We went to watch him play last week, and he's a concern.
Certainly, the game plan as it's been the last I think 4 meetings between these two teams at least has been you want to stop the run, and as good as Xavier Lopez is, you'll take your chances forcing them to throw.
That's it every week.
Yeah.
That's it every week, and it's tough. Excuse me.
No problem. I know you're under the weather.
We have to do that, and if it takes, you know, making some defensive adjustments, that's what we're going to do. But that's the name of the game. I mean, it is. It's just the name of the game. If you have to worry about that run too, you run and pass like we saw last Thursday. I mean, it is tough. It's tough.
What about their defense against your offense? What do you expect from them at this point? I mean, is there anything that Josh Carell can do that he hasn't done before? I would imagine at this point, you know, he's run out of different things he can try.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, they play us pretty straight up most of the time, whatever they're in. So you always worry about a little bit of slanting and firing with the inside guys. We haven't seen too much of that from them. That would be the only thing I can really think of. But every other front, I think we've seen. We've seen there may be something that he hasn't played in several years that we may see, but you know, we should be able to adjust to that if we do see it. So we'll be grinding it out again.
You know, kind of back on our self-scout, we came in talking about how this was going to be a grinded-out type team this year, and that you know, you may not have the huge big play capability in the run game, and you know, I think that the numbers have bared that out so far in the sense that you're getting still 4.5 yards per rush, but I think let me double check because I'm interested to see myself what the longest rush is of the season. 27 yards from your quarterback, Devin Vandergrift. From the tailback position, longest run's been 19 yards so far, but time of possession has been key, 31 minutes a game to 19 minutes a game for Bridgeport. But it's been a little bit of a misnomer, hasn't it? I mean, we're close to some big plays in the run game, or at least an opportunity to get some guys out into the open and at least get into foot races.
Yeah, we are. Like I said, it's consistency. It's when you're dealing with that many in the box, it's tough.
Yeah.
And
it's a block here or there, a misread here or there. It's right.
It is, and it's a little bit of vision every now and then. One time it's a lineman, the next time it's a back not making a block. It's pretty. In a way, it's complicated. I mean, it is. If someone comes off a block, it seems like we don't hold it long enough. Someone comes off a block, trips us up. It's the same thing every week, but you know, at the same time, it tests the will of your opponent, and it tests our will a little bit. But like I said, I think for us it's easier to go downhill on offense, and that has an effect on our opponents. So hopefully here in the near future we're going to break some of them. We're going to break some will of our opponents. We're going to break some linebackers' will to come up there and fill every single play time after time. And if we keep, I mean, that's our philosophy. And once their will hopefully gets broken, then hopefully we'll see some 20, 30-yard runs.
All right, buddy. Hope you feel better.
Yep.
We'll see you on Friday night, One Eagle Way. We'll come back and set up our broadcast plans for Friday nights as the Indians and Bird renew their rivalry. Back to me is after this timeout, me and Margarita at Charles Point, home of the John Cole Show. We're back after this on the home of the Indians. Hey, Kenny. You have another break left? Okay. I'm going to do this segment. I'll throw the break. You just play the break and delete out the buffer and just play the close. Okay, thanks, buddy. Well, 2 rushing touchdowns for the Indians against the Polar Bears of Fairmont Senior, including Devin Vandergrift's rushing touchdown, his second in as many weeks for the Indians. We are set for Bridgeport and RCB coming up at the end of the week, Friday night at Bird Stadium over in Clarksburg. We'll kick it off at 6:30 airtime with Quality Machine Indians warm-up. Make sure you join myself and Chris George and Jeff DeQuino for the call on the Indians Radio Network. You can hear it locally on WAJR 103.3. You can also listen to it on BridgeportIndians.com is the website, or the Bridgeport Indians radio app. And you can, if you don't have that app, you can get it by searching Bridgeport Sports Radio. Do that in the App Store, or you can do it in the marketplace, and you can listen to live streaming Bridgeport Indians content 24/7 right there on the app. We call it Indians Radio 24/7. It's like a little Bridgeport sports radio station. Always content on there, past coaches, shows, and games around the clock, and, of course, our live events on there as well. One update, JV game kicked at 8 o'clock tonight from East West Stadium. Bridgeport and Fairmont Senior now tied at 14 in the second quarter, and we'll have the score at BridgeportIndiansFootball.com coming up later. All right, we're back again next Monday night, a week from tonight. We'll wrap up the Fairmont Senior game and look forward to our trip to North Marion. For head coach John Cole and the crew, this is Travis Jones. Thank you for listening to the John Cole Show here on the home of the Indians.